Number 4 is the character obligation. Now, this is a very important obligation. The character obligation in a piece of material, the character obligation is divided into 4 parts. What is this character like intellectually? What is this character like emotionally? What is this character like physically? And what is this character like psychologically? In reading the material, you can determine that by observing, understanding, and collecting what the other characters say about the character, what the author says about the character, what the character says about himself, and what the character's actions are. All 4 of those things really make it clear what the character's like in all 4 categories. Now, the actor's responsibility for addressing the character obligation is to ask himself, am I like this character physically? And if he is, he doesn't have to do anything. If he is not, then he must work for things that will take him closer to the physical nature, stature, behavior, and structure of the character physically. Now, in approaching that, the plethora of choices he can use to do that. One of the greatest, and I've already talked about it before, is externals. The actor can use an external of another person, an animal, an inanimate, an insect, whatever, that will take him, the actor, into the environment, into the venue of what the character's like physically. Now, he also has to identify what the character likes emotionally. Is the character, am I like the character emotionally? Can I be affected by my choices the way the character is affected by his circumstances? If that is true, the actor has to do very little. If the actor is emotionally much more conservative than the character, then the actor has to do many kinds of things, choices, exercises that will liberate his ability to be more emotionally expressive, bigger emotionally, more impacting emotionally, more unpredictably emotionally, and so he has to do that. Now, what is the character like intellectually? The actor then has to make that comparison. Is the actor as smart as the character? Or is the character much more limited intellectually than the actor? Then the actor has got to make an adjustment in that and work for choices which will absolutely impact the actor on being mentally slower, less comprehensible, less knowledgeable. There are many choices that an actor can use to do that. And again, externals could do that. Or the sense of another person, or preoccupying himself. For example, let's say the character does not put things together as rapidly as the actor does. So the actor can make this adjustment. He can start to distract himself in his thinking between the lines he's saying, can have a running inner monologue which would be interruptive of the quickness of response or the intellectual capacity of the character. And there are other choices that the actor can use to slow himself down and appear to be and actually be less intellectually acute. Psychologically, what is the character like psychologically? Am I like the character psychologically? No, not really, let's say. The character is somewhat paranoid, suspicious, fearful. I, the actor, for example, I don't have any of those problems. I don't think people are following me in a dark alley. I'm not suspicious of people. People have to prove themselves not to be trusted before I get suspicious. So what do? Well, I work for things that would make me feel paranoid. Like I would selectively emphasize people looking at me and reading their gaze or their interpretation of me suspiciously, being judgmental. I put myself in environments where I felt uncomfortable and surround myself with people that seemed to give me the fisheye, who looked at me suspiciously, judgmentally. And after doing that successfully for a period of time, I think I could elevate my sense of paranoia. So there are a multitude of choices an actor can use to address and fulfill the character obligations. Number 5, which is a thematic obligation. Now this is a very interesting obligation because it doesn't exist for every character in the piece, usually. The thematic obligation, many authors, like George Bernard Shaw and other authors, pick out one character in the piece to carry the theme and the statement that they want to make in the piece. It's the author's mouthpiece. Now, if you are that character and you are carrying the author's statement for the piece, then you have to accommodate it by fulfilling the author's intention. I'll give you an example. Hypothetically, this play is an anti-communism play. The leading character is a staunch communist. He's through and through a communist, and he spouts all of the doctrines of communism and how communism is designed to save the world. And through his behavior and through his statements, the author points out the evil of communism, how communism is an evil form of government and an evil form on the planet. So the character, through his statements and behavior and his fanaticism, carries the author's statement, which is an anti-communism statement. He's pointing out the evils of communism. Now the actor, who's an American actor, has no relationship to communism, has to find choices where he is adamantly committed to this fanaticism, to promoting something he really believes in. It could be a political thing, it could be anything. When the actor involves himself in creating that reality, he becomes a staunch communist because he's saying those lines. His choice might be quite different. He might be talking about our government. He might be adamant about what is happening in Washington and how we have to change it and how we have to demonstrate against it or revolt against it. Lincoln said, if you don't like your government or the government offends you, overthrow it. I mean, that's pretty drastic, of course, but whatever the actor's choice is, that is the author's statement, and he carries that, and that's a thematic obligation.